Greetings, my name is Chris, and welcome to my new channel, One Sided Die. And on this channel, we're going to focus on tabletop role playing games, and we'll talk a little bit about role playing games in general, but I want to focus primarily on this in this channel on my solo projects, the weird world of playing RPGs by yourself. Um, so I think the first question would be why? Why play RPGs alone? And there's a few reasons for that. One is I do enjoy GMing. I've been doing it for over 4 decades, and I like it. But we only do it. We only play once a week. My table game is on Saturday, and this even if we just talk about it here on channel, or solo play a game, gives me the opportunity to engage with the game more than once a week. So that's one piece of it. Another piece would be to supplement either future or existing games that we're going to play at my table on Saturday. So either by tweaking rules, so for instance, the next game my group wants to play is Supers, our Supers game that we run, and so I'm pulling that out. That's my current solo project. Is that because it gets me back in there, and if there's tweaks to be made to the rules or changes to be made, and I can explore a little bit of the mythology. Um, that's another reason to play solo, is to either while we're playing a table game or before we play a table game, to sort of enhance the game and the characters and the scenarios, etc. Another reason is simply that our games, especially as of the past 4 years, have lengthened. We're sort of back to the when I was very young, all the games were like super long, multi-year long campaigns. And then as we got older, they compressed, and a year was like a very long time. A campaign might last 6 months to 8 months, and then you sort of bag it, move on to the next thing. But very much more recently, we have been expanding back out, where an 18-month campaign is not a stretch. A year is short. 18 months is sort of a reasonable length, and then they could go even longer, two or more years. And so we were joking on text the other day, oh, okay, so if we want to play Supers next, then we want to do like a post-apocalypse Fallout, probably running the hero system. Although I do own the Fallout book, and it's a good book. But right, and then we want to do such a go back and run some old blah 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 and old school fantasy and so on and so forth. And we realized, oh my god, we've just described the next 6 years of gaming. like it's booked. It's booked. The schedule's booked already. And so what that means is there's just not a ton of time to get into different scenarios, to get into different sets of characters, to get into different game systems. We might die before I get through that list. Like, that's it. And so playing solo then allows me to touch systems I would never touch, to explore characters we would never touch in our normal game, to do games that I wouldn't normally bring to my table because they're a little wonky, or maybe right, or a few folks wouldn't like it, and so on. So that's what solo playing sort of brings to the table for me. I also would love to have a couple of these games, especially if we go back, when we go back to say like an old school fantasy style game, is to almost have some parallel solo threads running, where you're generating threads for the characters with the solo game that you're running over here. So I thought that might be interesting as well, and we'll definitely try to experiment with that. So that's why I got interested in solo role playing. I've watched quite a few other. I watched Brian's channel and Seeker's Hollow and the Dungeon Dive and so on. I watched some of those guys, and what they do is, it's intriguing, and so I decided, well, let's try some here. So what are we going to play on the channel? Well, unfortunately, a lot of it's going to be pretty niche. To be honest with you, I love to write games, and so if we're doing a new game, I'm probably trying to quickly kit bash together a new game for that scenario. So our supers game is homebrew. The game we're playing now is homebrew. The fantasy game is probably going to be Runebearer, which I wrote back in like 1999 or I don't know, 2000. Let's just call it 2000. So there will be a lot of homebrew games. The games I like are tactical. They're crunchy. There's probably mapped combat in most of them. That's not to say we don't, have other things in investigations and role plays and lots of charts and tables. I do love a good chart. And we will do that. But I do like a good, solid tactical game in most of my games. That's not all, but most of them. So expect a little bit of that. Now, having said that, I would love to get a couple games that are not homebrewed into the rotation. And again, that's where solo is going to help me out, because, usually if I'm bringing a game to the table, it's going to be something that I've put together usually. But I bought a ton of games this past year. So I would love to try maybe some Vagabond at some point in the future. I just got this today, Tales of Argosa, which looks pretty interesting. I would love to see some of this. But, I mean, we might just really, really, really go back and scratch, go back to basics, right? Literally, sort of, with the giant Beckme book, which is sort of crazy. This is one of the most comprehensive RPG books ever constructed. And a lot of this comes down to whether these books are going to actually survive. If you see the wear and tear on this goddamn thing, this thing literally has been through the ringer. Is the old first edition D&D? Maybe we just play a goddamn first edition game. And I got my player's handbook, my DMG, my monster manual is way better shape up there on the shelf. So I think it's gonna be the first game we are playing, and we're playing it. I'm playing it right now. Is my homebrew supers game, and I'll start to post those. I've already posted those on the old channel. I'm moving those off to the new channel as soon as YouTube lifts. YouTube's wacky about new channels, and so there's a lot of restrictions on a new channel. So once I get through the verification processes and the vetting processes, we will start getting those uploads rolling, and get new episodes up. We have an old Runebearer series that's like 30 something long, and we have an old Traveler which we sort of dropped too early. But the supers game is what's going on now, and I would love to get a fantasy game into the mix soon. Like that's like within the next 2 weeks. And I don't know what it's going to be. So if you have any suggestions, that would be great. I do lean toward, like I said, crunchier games, or at least, old school games. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so those are the games that sort of I remember, and those are the types of games that I like to see typically. But I'm super fascinated with Vagabond and Argosa, and I have a couple others up there too, Lion and Dragon, and so on. So that's it. I hope that you will tune in and share some of these videos with me. And that's it. I will see you in a couple days. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.